dad saved her life. After that, Dad would ask Marnie Brum's son, Jordy, to help him do stuff, which made me really mad. I hated other kids helping my dad do things that I should help him do. I'd feel this stabbing pain in my heart, and I'd run to my room and lock the door and cry. I was so sick about this that I had started to hide important things under my bed. Things that people would always need, like spatulas, peanut butter, hammers, car keys, and the garage door opener, so they'd have to come to me. Back then, some people called me Gopher, like in Julie, go for this, or Julie, go for that. I knew where everything was, and I cleaned everything all the time, and rearranged the furniture every week, and organized everyone's drawers while I watched television. I vacuumed and raked the shag carpeting just like the man who installed it showed us how to do. I'd wait for Daddy to come home, and I'd stand outside each room I had done my magic in and wait for him to inspect it. He got better at thoroughly inspecting my work when I would open each drawer or reveal the pledge-based shine on each piece of furniture. I was looking for a promotion, not a pat on the back. I wanted to be good enough for him. I wanted to work for him. I wanted to be surety waterproofing. I wanted his surety waterproofing trucks to say Jack Evans and Daughter Incorporated. Daddy was a builder and a waterproofer. He worked all the time. He had this big warehouse where he had a fleet of trucks and huge buckets of tar and spackle and shelves full of every kind of brush you could imagine. The horse barn where I kept my pony was not too far from Daddy's warehouse, so I could ride there almost every day to visit him. It made me feel so glamorous to ride along the road and have people crane their necks to see me. Daddy got me Pogo when I was 8 years old. I did everything with that pony. When I got him, he was stubborn and mean and didn't do much of anything except outsmart all the little kids who tried to ride him. I found the secret to training a horse is just to love them. Tell them everything you're going through, and it makes them feel important to know these things, and they listen better and try to help you through whatever you're going through. Pogo became a champion show pony, but after about 2 years, my legs got too long, and they said I was too good a rider to keep him. I needed a taller horse. But I loved Pogo very much, so I tried to let it ride. But I was growing fast. So I rode over to talk to my dad. I usually wore canary yellow breeches and a black hunt coat when I showed, but the rich kids wore midnight blue velvet hunt jackets and crisp white breeches and rode thoroughbreds. I saw how my dad worked when he didn't know I was watching. I would watch the sweat streaming off his head. I knew he wouldn't be able to get me something like that. So when I approached him that day, I had an idea. Maybe I could get a job and get the money for the horse myself. He told me he'd call his friend Slim. I wanted to die. Slim was like the worst person to call. He was a hick. He was a backward cowpoke who wouldn't know a thing about a good horse. I cringed and slunk away. I dreaded the outcome, and then I tried to forget about it. I hopped on Pogo, looking ridiculously tall, and rode to the bowling alley next door and asked Billy, the waitress, for a bowl of her famous chicken dumpling soup. After eating, I jumped on Pogo again and went back behind my dad's warehouse, where there was an old farm road that led to a cornfield, and we ran and ran faster and faster until it felt like we were free, like birds or angels, just this side of heaven. We did our cool-off walk back to the barn, and then I washed him with a cool bucket of water, fluffed up his stall, got myself a cold Royal Crown Cola, and waited for my dad to pick me up. 6 months later, in the dead of winter, on a really cold and windy day, somebody hollered out that my dad had just pulled up and he was in an old guy's beat-up truck, and they had a horse trailer with him. I slid off the horse I'd been working out and handed the reins to one of the younger kids, and stiff-backed, I walked out to meet my father. As I rounded the corner, Slim spit out a long stream of thick brown liquid that hit the ground and froze. He dropped open the back of the trailer, and out back the manure-stained hind end of a fuzzy-coated white horse, and I wanted to pass out. I stood there, not breathing, as the rest of the green-stained horse appeared. I groaned. The horse turned his head to look at me, and my knees nearly buckled. It was like looking at God or something. He looked right at me, and I ran to meet him. I took the lead line, I put my hand under his soft muzzle, and he licked me. I turned to look at my dad, and he was smiling. The horse was 3/4 Arabian with a champion sire named Emnian, so his full registered name was Omar of Emnian, but I just called him Om. So Pogo got traded in for Omar, an even trade, $500. It was hard to see Pogo go, but my little pony really didn't hesitate to walk up the ramp into the horse trailer. We had the winter to train and get used to each other, and in the spring we came out in our full glory as horse and rider. Me, a funny-looking 11-year-old kid with thick wire-rimmed glasses and a mouthful of braces, and him, a stunning, sleek, silver, dish-faced, 5-year-old registered Arabian that took the amateur show world by storm as he won every class we entered in. His extended trot made people sit up and take notice. He gave me confidence I'd never had. He was a gentleman and a charmer. My dad loved Omar too. I had a lot of time with my dad toward the end of his life, the whole long year as he was healing from brain surgery or shortly thereafter dying of lung cancer and bone cancer. I never asked him any questions though, and now I don't know nearly enough about him. I don't even know his parents' real names. His dad was called Butch and had a leg amputated when I was about 3 years old, and he died before I got to know him. And his mom had dementia by the time I met her, and insisted on taking my first Betsy Wetsy doll from me, with my daddy saying, "Let her have it, Julie." One time Omar and I had visited my dad at the warehouse on our way to gallop through the cornfields, and after we left Dad, I was singing "I'm Leaving on a Jet Plane" for the 6th time, and I just stretched out on Omar's back, and he walked along the farm road, and that's all I remember, because what happened next was a big rattlesnake rose up on its tail and tried to strike at him. And he reared up and came down hard on the snake's head, killing it, as I went tumbling off and landed on my head. I went unconscious. Omar turned on his heel, ran over to Dad's warehouse, and Dad swung up on his back, and Omar led him right back to me. Dad scooped me up and carried me to his car. When I came to, he told me the story, and I think that is the first story my dad ever told me. And now,
I'm going to need you to stall again there, Jubes.
we're going to stall.